For the best part of 2 or 3 years now that I've had this channel, I've often referred to the Clergy Plan, um, the man that created the EU, the EEC, and he said the man of the future will be mixed race. And even if you really wanted to try your best to debunk the Clergy Plan and say that what's happening now is nothing to do with the Clergy Plan, then just give it a name of its own. In fact, oh wait, it's got a name, or it could potentially have a name very soon, with the UN Migration Pact that 5 countries to my knowledge have already rejected. But if it does get the green light, then we'll be seeing a fuck ton more immigration than we currently are seeing. And that's not even taking into consideration the Marrakesh Agreement. And if that really is as sinister as it looks to be, then Europe's fucked. Nonetheless, I just want to make a quick video touching upon this again, because this is becoming repetitive and it's just boring at this point. It really is. I mean, I don't know why they bother writing this gaff. I mean, why don't they just go back to what they were doing when this all started and keeping it under lock and key, pretending they were all Syrian children, little girls and boys and women. Then it transpired they were men, and then it transpired they weren't even Syrian, they're fucking African. Nonetheless, 100,000 deaths, 100,000 arrivals of illegal immigrants to Europe from the Mediterranean Sea in 2018, and the deaths have reached 2040, right? The UN Migration Agency, reports that over 101,000 migrants and refugees entered Europe by sea in 2018 through the 7th of November, including 49,000 to Spain, the region's most active destination point this year, with just under 49% of all 2018 arrivals. This marks the 5th straight year arrivals of irregular migrants and refugees have topped the 100,000 benchmark, although in all previous years that arrival threshold was reached earlier in the year. Researchers for Missing Migrants Project noted that this week marks the death just over 30 years ago of a Moroccan man whose body washed up on the beaches of Tarifa. The victim today is considered the first person to die while trying to migrate from North Africa to Spain. Well, hard times have changed, have they not? Because let's not forget here that in the midst of all the supposed talks that these EU bureaucrats pretend that they have, coming up with potential solutions to quell, stem, stop the migrant crowd, you've heard it all before, and yet in the background this continues. And every single time they rescue, quote unquote, a boat that we were initially led to believe had a smuggler at the helm, and it's now transpired that that was a lie too. And 9 times out of 10, these guys know exactly what they're doing, and they get picked up by coast guards under the guise of being rescued, because conveniently there's laws that the EU silently put out, which you can read about, which state that the 1974 Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, this dictates that any ship learning of a persons in distress, should proceed with all their speed to assistance. In addition, the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea says that every state that has a ship flying its flag should require that ship to rescue those in distress at sea. The 1979 International Convention on Maritime Search and Rescue, which establishes a legal framework for signatories to coordinate rescue efforts, and according to the International Maritime Organization, which helped put together some of the principles behind rescue at sea, its member states also have an obligation to coordinate so that persons rescued at sea are disembarked in a place of safety as soon as possible. See, because of these lovely laws that they wrote back in the day. It's almost as if they wrote them knowing that sooner, and in 20, 30 years time, they're going to come in very fucking handy. But because it states in these laws that these people need to be rescued the minute they are spotted, it no longer, as far as I'm concerned, becomes a rescue mission. This just seems to become an everyday occurrence. It's becoming exploited. Well, I think that ship has sailed, pardon the pun, but it's now as if the laws that ordinarily were there to quote unquote rescue people are now just there as a backup, as a shield to anybody that has an issue with the so-called rescuing. But with every single time the deaths seem to spike up, the UN continuously comes out and tells the bureaucrats of the EU that they need to do more to make sure that these deaths stop. And the suggestions that they come away with always range from the same pish that we hear all the time anyway, such as just more rescue efforts and make sure that they all get here safely. When, quite frankly, that to me is preposterous and ridiculous, for to name a few. Purely for the fact that this crisis, as it continuously gets called, will always remain a crisis until they decide not to continue it on. And the day that they stop taking these people to Europe or allowing these people to enter Europe illegally, one of the two, is the day this stops. The minute somebody parts with their cash to give to the invisible smugglers that we're led to believe exist, and they realise that their money was wasted when they get caught, either arrested and jailed or fucking booted back to where they came from, I'm pretty sure that they would stop traversing the Mediterranean. I'm pretty sure that they would stop entering Europe illegally, and I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't be dying. But instead of that, we have to feel sorry for them and their harrowing plight as they traverse the Mediterranean Sea, because some of them die, when in reality I shouldn't give a shit about that, and I don't give a shit about that. I have sympathy for these people because they come from a place which isn't as well off as where I'm from. Not that I'm well off, but that's not the point. But you're not going to guilt trip me into fucking allowing mass immigration, because the more that has been accepted into Europe, the more you want. Oh, these protesters and all, they want open borders completely. I mean, it's not feasible. It's just not. And let's not forget the Syrian refugee crisis. What part of Africa is Syria? Africa's a continent in itself. You know what I mean? Syria and Africa. Like, fucking Syrian refugees because of the war in Syria. But now all of a sudden we got Gambians, Cameroonians, Eritreans, fucking Ghanaians. God knows where. I don't know. Anyway. So far in 2018, at least 670 people have lost their lives in the same crossing. This week alone, at least 52 people died or were lost at sea. In the early hours of Monday, an unidentified man body was found in southern Spain. Since then, the body of 6 more men have been recovered in the area by Spain's Coast Guard, and at least 14 remain missing. All those in this boat are thought to be North African. This is my point here. What the fuck are North Africans? Why is this happening? Well, I know what's happening. Most people at this point know what's happening. Whether they believe it's the Kalergi plan, whether they think it's just cacked, for lack of better words, politicians, or whatever you will. One thing is abundantly clear here. These people are going to continue entering Europe illegally until one of two things happens. It becomes legal, which that possibility is encroaching every day, or they put an end to it, which they fucking won't. Also Monday, another 2 boats of people trying to reach Spanish territory sank off the coast. In total, 80 people, mostly from sub-Saharan Africa, were rescued and brought, along with the remains of 13 of their fellow passengers. Sub-Saharan Africa. Oh, you know that warm enclave in Syria called Sub-Saharan Africa? No, I don't know that. And they're all men. You know, they're all fucking men, as usual. What a shock. 75 men. Oh, think of the children. Think of the children. What fucking children? Fucking hell, that ship sailed. I mean, they don't even hide it anymore. I mean, I don't know what's worse. They've been so in your face about it, or when they used to lie. Remember when they used to hide them when they came off the buses, so nobody could see who they were, you know? And then they made out that they weren't hiding them because of their age; they were hiding them so nobody knew who they were. What a bullshit, man. Spain's Ana Doves, reported Monday total arrivals at sea in 2018 have reached near enough 50,000 men, women and children. Yes, you have to add all in there, but let's not be appreciated. It's probably all men for the most part. Have been rescued in the Mediterranean waters through 7th of November. I've said it for the longest time that a big portion, if not all of this migrant crisis is so orchestrated by the people that you would least expect. And what I mean by that is the very same politicians that have the hard neck to stand there on TV and and proclaim that they're going to find a way to combat the migrant crisis are the very same people that are fucking allowing it to continue. They allowed it to begin with, you know. I mean, Alan Kurdi, did that boy even die? Who knows? No one knows. There's question marks all over that story, but the point remains the same, and I digressed earlier, apologies for that, and that is that in recent months especially, it's pretty clear that these laws that were put in place are now being openly exploited, and this migrant crisis is nothing more than allowing constant waves of people from the third world, Africa in particular in this case, to continuously enter Europe, basically legally but illegally at the same time. And instead of just having an open door policy, this is the next best thing. As long as they can continue the illusion of a migrant crisis and a refugee crisis, the more people they can allow in. And that is the end game here. No matter what conspiracy you do believe in or what you don't believe in, even if you don't believe the Kalergi plan, whatever the fuck is happening right now is very, very similar to it. So just give it your own name. It doesn't really matter. All you're doing is effectively debunking a name. You're not debunking what's going on. Peace.